Well, hello everybody. Well, thanks for joining us, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, or your evening, or whether you're watching us live on replay. We're always here. If you watch us on replay, you can scroll through me talking and get to the important bits. So that's good, but you can only do that if you hit subscribe. I know I sound like some kind of influencer, but if you hit subscribe, you'll get notified when we go live. This is the last in our current series. We are coming back again in a few weeks' time, I think. We haven't worked out the timing exactly yet, but we're all taking a summer break because it's just too hot. Yeah, exactly. Oh, we're off to surf or whatever I don't do. Yes, exactly. So joining us from the baking south of England is Rob Jones. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Ian. Good to see you.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of video lag. It's great. It always looks like he's AI, but very bad AI. But you're definitely live with us. Yeah, exactly. And also joining us from Southern England is Stephen Ball. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Ian. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon.
We were just discussing the prospect of your computer melting, which may be why everybody's having a little bit of jet lag with their computer or whatever you want to call it. And joining us from the hallowed grounds, no less, of Menlo Park is Montana Mendy. Hello, Montana.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
also, my computer is melting as well, Stephen, so don't feel bad.
Mine isn't. I'm actually cold. My air conditioning is going non-stop. It's what is it now? It's only 84 actually here, but it's going to be 103 in old money. So it's about 41 or 42 centigrade for the Brits and other Europeans watching on the old-fashioned scale of decimalization or whatever it is. We tried that once in America and got confusing, so now we just go back to the old ways. And stuff. Exactly, yeah. The old ways are the good ways. We've made the spelling easier as well, so that we didn't have to worry about extra U's in words that have no purpose whatsoever. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got some slides. Shall I try and see on the slides now? I have
no poipus whatsoever. Was that Ian?
Sorry, say that again.
No poipus whatsoever. Was that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
What can I say? Let me just. There you go. So I have got a slightly different setup, which has confused me a little bit because my screens are swapped around. So just if I look a little bit lost sometimes, it's because one of them's over there that's got some important stuff on, and it's breaking my neck. And that one over here is the one that I'm driving. Okay, so today, which was funny because I called out one of the slides thinking that's a weird title about. I think it was Dashboard Solving Everything. And then Rob pointed out that today's title is Fact or Fiction. And so the slide I had pointed out was actually one of the fiction ones where it was an untruth. But that's our topic for today. And we are usually live every Thursday. Like I say, we're taking a little bit of a break so that people can unmelt their computers, go and stick them in the freezer for a while and improve the functionality. And although I don't know why the Brits are taking some time off, you're going to have quite a lot of spare time now. You don't have to watch any World Cup games. So go USA. And regular guests that we have, Stephen Ball, who you've already met, Robert Jones, he's here too. Maria Luna's not with us today. She's off doing some other things, but she drops in from time to time. Montana Mendy, you've already met, and myself as well, hosting. And what is today's agenda? Stephen, do you want to go through what the headline topics are? I'll let you.
Yeah, or we can. I think we can probably just skip straight over.
We're basically just okay, even better.
Yeah, let's just go straight on and get into the first one that we got up. So yeah, today we've kind of taken some inspiration from a well-known TV show that was always trying to work out if things were true or not, and we're hopefully going to bust our way through some of these.
Say the name, right? Because we don't want to.
Yeah. We're going to bust our way through some of these statements that have been made and see where we kind of get to. But yeah, we thought as we're closing out this series, a little bit of fun, just to kind of have a debate around things, because as with any statement, sometimes there's a little bit of truth even in the strangest of things that are said. So we thought it would be good fun to have a little bit of a discussion around some of those things and just help guide people in terms of making the right decision for them, and to guide, the direction that they take things with. And it's also a fun way of poking fun at some of the things that we see happen, that maybe are not always best practice. And this is kind of a good way to kind of highlight those and have a bit of a discussion around them. So the first one we've got up here is real time is always, if some's good, getting your data there faster must be better, right? So, as they say on TV programs, discuss.
1, 2, 3, discuss. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So who's got an opinion on this? I think Montana. Let's put him on the spot and make Montana speak first, so that we can make fun of him after. I mean, so that we can.
No, you can make fun of me just now. I don't have to talk. That always happens. I don't even need to speak.
Yeah. I mean, my perspective on this is, well, in many cases, obviously you want real-time data. But the thing is, it depends on the context, I'm guessing. Would you say that's right? If you're doing presentation or something like that, you don't want to get caught on the hop.
On the context, and then it depends on what type of data lakes you're connected to, what's coming in, and so real time adds infrastructure costs, obviously, but at the end of the day, it depends on what you're doing and how important that real time data is to you. So it may not. Real-time data that's coming in from, let's say, Snowflake or something, that may not be as important to you as of someone manually setting up some view or something. It just depends. Again,
I'll give you another example as well. Why when you don't want real-time data, there's a classic clip of a reporter who was doing a piece to camera. So she's standing facing the camera. I know what you're talking about. And behind her is an aircraft board, saying, flight going to the gate, I don't know, your American flight is ready and it's a gate 5 and all the rest of it. And she's saying, and here we are, despite all of the problems today, the airport is still functioning as normal. There have been 2 cancelled flights, but there have been no further cancellations. And as she continues to talk to the camera, behind her, all of the flights are cancelled one after another. It's just until she ends up effectively with all the flights cancelled, and she is oblivious because she's just talking to camera. And that's the same thing as doing a presentation, where if you've prepared your notes, you've got it rehearsed in your head what you're going to say. You're going to present at some big important conference or meeting. You want to give the facts, but if those facts change from underneath you, you pull up your real-time slides, which isn't really likelihood, but if you did,
I think
you could end up being on the spot a bit, I think.
And it's not like the Weather Channel where you can say, hey, this is the 10-day forecast. Maybe it won't be happening. Maybe it will. Obviously, completely different type of circumstance. So,
Facts are
but I
facts,
think it's a really good example, though, Ian, to highlight what this slide is about. In that case, you want, if you're checking on something and you're reporting on the status of something right now in the organization, then you need that real-time data. But most of the time, you don't need that data to be real-time. And if you've got processes that are running 24/7 or quite regularly to import data and keep it up to date, then that's an infrastructure cost and a time impact. Yep. So when do you want to have that load and that infrastructure hit? Is it during operational times? Is it during down times? Is it better to process that stuff overnight when it's not impacting the servers that the business are running off? Because if you're reporting on sales trends and you're reporting on monthly sales figures, how important is today's figure? Probably not very important. If you're actually one of the kind of yeah. Go on, Rob. I know you've worked in retail and you've done a lot of this kind of analysis and stuff, and I think your sense around this is quite apt. So.
Well, that's true. I mean, in retail, we spent a long time trying to figure out. Now, having been to all the conferences and heard all this real time is always better stuff, it was very much the theme of the day for years during my time at Waitrose, and we tried really hard to come up with use cases where it was actually true, where having the most recent data would really impact a business decision in a positive way. And to be perfectly honest, we never really found one. And I'm going to caveat that slightly. So there are two things around it. One is retail is retail. It's not the only sector, clearly. I'll give you an example of a minute of a case where it does matter. But just because you can, it's expensive. So there's a cost to it. And the question is that the sensible place to put your money? And most times it's not. The other thing is, in the odd occasion when there is a use case for something real time, very often your BI tools are not the best way to deal with that stuff, because and it's not even that they can't, it's because it's a human thing. It's saying, well, if people are used to going to a BI tool, and frankly, whether they look at it right now or they look at it in half an hour or even tomorrow, it doesn't make a lot of difference. You really don't want your crucial operational alerts to go onto that channel, because what happens if they just think, actually no, I'll just go and have a tea break first. They've missed it, and so you really need a different way of notifying them of things that are actually time critical. So that's that's worth thinking about. But just to give examples, so even on something like predictive maintenance, which is a nice example of it's within the analytics space. It's not something that often comes up in the yellowfin, but we don't claim we do everything. We're part of an ecosystem. But predictive maintenance, if you stick to retail for a minute, you can say about the usual thing there is the example is refrigeration units. So if one of those breaks down, it's bad news. It's going to cost you money, probably cost you a few $100 when all the stuff has to get thrown away. But actually, you don't have to do that, because you can see it coming. You can see it coming days, even weeks ahead. Is on the really predictive stuff. So do you need to be taking the most recent data all the time in order to do that? No, you don't. You can take a nightly batch feed and figure out what you're going to have to do in 3-4 days time. No problem at all. Save yourself the money and do this analytics. But pivot a little and say, right, well, what about a different industry like power generation? There you've got gas turbines costing millions of pounds each. And there are techniques you can use to predict the failure of one of those things, but sometimes you only have 20 minutes to fix it or do something about it if you're going to avoid this thing literally smashing up and costing you millions of pounds. Now, in that case, it's worth making sure you're getting that sensor data back to somewhere you can take some action on it really quickly, and then also investing in transmitting that information to someone who can do something about it very quickly. But that's one of those cases where I'd say, yeah, pay for the real time, but probably don't use your BI tool to do it, because you'll find it difficult to guarantee delivery. And even if you deliver it to their device, how can you deliver? They're going to look at it. Think of another way of doing those sorts of things. But yeah, just highlighting.
I used to work for a company who. Do you remember when satellite first rolled out, and it was B Sky B, or I think it was Sky was the original. I forget, but Amstrad, for example, were the first satellite dish providers, weirdly enough, and they had these set-top boxes. And I remember working on the stats packages that fed into the dashboards, and they had two critical figures, which was mean time between failures. So that is, you take, because stuff goes wrong, it stops working, and mean time between repair. So those two figures were quite important, but they were predictive. Based on what had happened already, you would take an arithmetic mean. I mean, literally, if the early days of school, you got taught how to do means, as a way of what's the word I'm looking for? Arithmetic mean is a type of
Average.
Yeah, average. That's it. Yeah, arithmetic mean. I know. Anyway, that. So we would do that calculation, and it would allow us to produce dashboards where you could say, okay, weirdly enough, they had a lot of failures suddenly peak outside of this zone that they'd calculated. So the dashboard would suddenly say, hey, we're getting a lot of people calling saying there's a problem. And this happened and it's very topical, because this happened in the Netherlands, where all of a sudden they were getting lots of repair calls for these satellite dishes. And it turned out that they spray painted the bracket that was on the wall. They'd spray painted it with a very thin polyurethane plastic, and it was black. And that year, just like this year, there was a massive heat wave. It was very, very hot. And the plastic was melting and dripping onto people who were walking past these dishes. But also, it was making the dishes fail. So it was just an example there of a dashboard where you didn't need it to be real time to, you know, alert you, but you did need it to be calculating the figures historically, and then looking for the outliers and things like that as well. So yeah, real time is not always better, but some elements, like you say, for fraud detection is important. And it allowed Dictaphone, who were maintaining it on behalf of Amstrad, to, you know, gear up and hire a load of people and go, oh my God, the heat is rising in Madrid in Spain, and we know they've got a lot of satellite dishes there. Therefore, we can go ahead and say, we're going to have a problem. We need to go. And they replaced all the brackets completely with a different type of bracket that was powder coated.
This would not be a Analytics Coffee Club if I didn't make a Unix reference here. So,
but actually, funny enough, the machines were running Unix as well.
Oh,
Funny
okay.
you should say that. Yeah, they were Unix boxes. Yeah.
So sometimes I have like cron tables going, and I'm like, oh, check it only Wednesday at like 12 p.m., right? And usually now I only do it on the weekends. But so sometimes the database that I'm working on a private project or something breaks, and then that cron job like runs and backs everything up on the broken version, and I don't actually have a backup app to that broken version, so I have to kind of rebase everything in GitHub and like pray for the best. So I've learned the hard way, you know, on the Unix side using cron tables. So
I knew somehow you had managed to shoehorn in a reference about Unix, and you can't hear me because the noise cancellation. For those,
well, taking a very tedious link from it. You know, a lot of cloud infrastructure is running on Linux and Unix-based, you know, hardware, and a number of the providers in the marketplace for BI software, because obviously Yellowfin's not the only one, actually have data layers kind of built in. You know, we very much advocate a best in breed. You know, you find the best thing, build your stack around having the best of breed things, rather than having one thing that kind of gives you massive vendor lock-in. But this is one of the areas that people really kind of get hit around. This real time is always better, because a number of the other vendors actually will charge you processing for pulling data every single time. So if you're trying to pull every hour compared to once a day, your costs are going to be 24 times higher. And that's a real, you know, when we talk about cost, you know, that's a real big consideration. Obviously, you don't have that kind of issue with Yellowfin, because, you know, we're typically, you know, suggest having your own database or use something like Exasol. I know we've had, you know, Dirk on with one of the other coffee clubs in the past, who has spoke, you know, very elegantly about the speed and performance you get with Exasol. But having that consistent cost factor is a really, really important part of making sure you manage what real time is actually costing the business as well.
Yeah. So should we go to number 2 then? Dashboard solve everything. World hunger, space travel, it's water shortages. Dashboards are going to solve everything. Is that right, or is that just a complete lie?
I'm going to let Rob kick off on this one, I think, because
time travel.
Then we can pull him down. Montana, make notes so that we can accuse him of
making more Unix jokes. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm going to start maybe controversially and say that, you know, putting information on a dashboard by itself achieves precisely nothing. And what do I mean by that? Well, a dashboard is only going to deliver value if, and it's only if, it's part of someone's workflow. So, you know, and the thing is that you can have it on a dashboard. If nobody looks at it, you might as well not have put it there. To make sure they look at it, you need to define a process which says, right, you're going to look at it at this point in your day, or at this point in your work cycle, whatever it is. You have to figure out when are they going to look at this dashboard and make sure that what's on the dashboard is what they're going to need to see at that point in their work life. And if you do that, then the dashboard can start adding value. But it's very much, it's the information getting to them at the point they need to make a decision. And as long as your dashboard is tailored, it can help with that. It's not to say it's always the best way of getting that information to them, but, you know, if it's not doing that, you're wasting your time, and you should think whether there's a different way of doing it.
And Robert, so if I'm like a person that never logs into, like, you know, BI system is and you could send it to my email via broadcast too, right? So I actually have to look at it regardless.
That was the question.
Yes, that was a question.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. We can send you the emails, but and
Yes.
you're right. That's tapping into a preferred interface, and that's what we're doing. But again, being a little bit cautious, sending an email to someone, to me, that only works if you set some expectations about how often people are going to check their emails and how quickly they're going to respond.
Yes.
So in a business context, you've got to add a bit more to it for that to be a viable delivery mechanism. Because I mean, if you send an email to my Gmail account, I'm probably never going to see it because I don't really use my Gmail account. Well, so I'm not talking about my work one; I've got my home one there. But I have accounts that I use regularly and accounts that I kind of use just to receive stuff that I don't really want. It's got to be configured the right way. You've got to make sure that the content that I want to see is going to the account that I'm actually going to look at, and the same goes for any other channel that you might want to deliver things by. So I mean, the dashboard can be perfectly viable if you've got it sitting up there in an operations room and a team of 10 people, they're all looking at it, someone's going to see it, that's fine. But if it's a dashboard that someone might look at the start of the month or might not, or might look at on a Monday or a Thursday, again, be cautious about what you put there and about the expectations for what the value of showing it to them is.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. We obviously chat to a number of different businesses around the world quite regularly about what they're doing, and we were chatting to one organization recently who were looking to migrate in, getting their migration plan sorted, and they were going through and having to run analysis against all the dashboards that they've got, and kind of realized that actually only about 20% of the dashboards they had were the ones that were actually being used. They had a huge amount of dashboards that were sat there that were variances on a theme that one person logged into 6 months ago, and they're then kind of going, well, what do we do with this? Do we migrate this one or do we not? So I think it comes back to auditability and governance, having practice in place to make sure you're reviewing what you've got there as dashboards, how they're being used by the business. Do they make sense to kind of keep there? If typically, the one thing that was actually very good, the company that we're speaking to actually had a pretty strong governance process in place. So any dashboard that was created, they had an initial request form that was filled in that had details about who the requester was, why the request had been made, the business case behind it, so they can then actually make some business decision around adding it or putting it in. But I think even still, when you've got so many dashboards, the more you get, the more you're not likely to realize you've got one somewhere to do what you want to do with it. So managing those becomes quite a task if you start going too mad with it. So I think going back to what Rob was saying is that if you've got a clear business reason for it and it's a starting point to kind of go with, then that's a really good place, because whenever you look at the data on a dashboard, what's the next thing that happens? You're kind of driving a question. You want to kind of move towards making some business change around the data that you're seeing. It's then how do you carry on that and make sure that it becomes actionable? And I think that's the most important part.
Let me ask a question here, because this is something I don't know about Yellowfin, and maybe it doesn't do it, but maybe it does. But is there such a thing as analytics? Are you able in Yellowfin to actually say, this dashboard is used by 500 people and they regularly view it? This dashboard is only used by 2 people and they view it once a month. And you look at it like, this is a weekly dashboard. So you can actually go and say...
Dashboard interactions, yes.
So
really?
There's a consultancy offering that's available. So it's free. You only have to ask for it, but it's not part of the core product. The data is collected automatically as part of the core product. That's the audit logging going through tables in the repository. But there's a suite of reports called the audit reports and so on that you can ask for.
The event archive.
Give you all of that stuff.
That's what was it you called it, Montana, at the start?
I think it's called the event archive, actually. I could be wrong about that.
That's the table, yeah. But there's a suite of dashboards that you can ask for, which will then interpret that for you and present it to you.
Interesting. So people could actually decide, because some of these dashboards, people spend an inordinate amount of time, and the whole point about Yellowfin is it's actually making it a lot quicker and a lot easier, especially with the AI integration that comes in there, making it Yeah, I mean, it's optional, by the way, folks that hate AI. I know some of you will hate AI and go, never, never, never touching AI. You're going to be able to hold out for a couple of years yet, so you're good. Just hang on to that humanity. But the AI integration, which is optional and works really well, helps you produce some of this stuff really quickly, which is great. But sometimes it's, you know, you've got to do the legwork to actually produce the types of dashboards you need and work out what it is, and it's labor intensive. You know, we can make it as easy as it can be, but at the end of the day, some jobs are difficult or long-winded to get going, and you don't want to be doing that if you have to keep producing new versions of it or something like that, and putting in a lot of labor-intensive time. If you find out that only 2 people look at this dashboard and hardly ever look at it as well, why expend effort on that dashboard if nobody's paying? Unless you actually are doing that because you think that dashboard should be valuable to what they're doing, and they're missing the point, in which case you need to educate people and say, hey, this dashboard, I see nobody's using it, but it tells you everything you keep talking about in our monthly meeting or our daily stand-up or whatever your management processes are for information. So yeah, dashboards can solve everything, but also mythologically it might not solve everything, and it might also be a rod for your own back if you're spending a lot of time trying to create new versions. Time is short, so we need to press on. More data, better decisions. I wish I'd had better decisions helper when I was younger. I've learned, but I'm still learning even now. But ooh,
I do like that. That's a really good ringtone. What is that, Rob?
it's Yellowfin notifying him about a problem with his
No, it's not. It's my mum.
oh, yeah, but she's got a dashboard. You should have one that says, "Mom, I'm busy doing stuff."
A family.
So more
That's a
data,
good
better
idea.
decisions. Well, I suppose that does count in dating. If you go out and date enough people, you can still make mistakes. So I guess it's a myth, even with the
Bad
right
week,
data.
Ian.
Yeah. Not speaking as a person who's been divorced a couple of
Well,
times.
there's a dashboard for that, Ian. You can do a dating dashboard.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'm sure one of the apps has got one out. No, I'm fine, thanks. My dog is very low maintenance and just he's a good companion. I'm fine with that. He doesn't do the washing up or put anything away in the dishwasher or anything, but I'm fine with that. Yeah. So we're collecting everything. We must be doing it right. Discuss.
Not always.
Oh, you're all got quiet. Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I'm starting it off here.
Well,
Go on then,
you can collect everything, but there's.
So I guess we don't want to go
I
for
said
it.
not if connecting everything, not always. I don't know. Disagree, agree.
Yeah, I mean the data lake becomes a data swamp. Yeah, and there is a tendency for people to kind of try and measure everything, and
Yes.
and especially once it gets easy, if you're using Elephant and you can you know be there with charts coming out of the wazoo, so to speak, to be American for a moment, you can keep going and go, oh, let's do another chart. It's so easy. Click, click, click. I've got another one, and I've got a heat map, and I've got a bar chart, and I've got a pie chart, and I've got donut
Combo.
Yeah, exact combo punch, exactly. So yeah, it can become a swamp, but also, you know, we a few episodes ago we showed that really beautiful dashboard for what was it, forest fires or something, and it was an example of a lot of information that just really didn't. It could have been narrowed down. I think that was the problem. There was too much on there, and it wasn't representing it very well. So making better decisions, yes, that's what you should obviously be aiming for. I notice it mentions the word petabyte there, so go.
Pesticides, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
that's,
the challenge always is knowing what questions you're going to be asked. And
right.
if you know what questions you're going to be asked, then you can start planning to make sure you've got the right content. Now, it may be that you're collecting information and it is going into the data lake and it's kind of sat there and it may not be used for a very long time because nobody ever wants to use it. Now, should you be collecting it in the first place? Well, maybe at some point you're going to need it. trying to find that right balance, because there's always a cost of storage, cost of processing, and everything else to go with. Sometimes you are going to need to have bits, but trying to get that right balance and looking at then taking what you have got and then processing what you need into your warehouse and into your data marts, so you can actually process and query against those, because you obviously don't want to be trying to query against everything you've got, because that's just nonsensical. You need to make sure you're picking out the right things that are going to answer the questions that the business are asking for. And if you get things that are kind of way off field, then you might need to wait to kind of go and get that data processed, put it into the to the warehouse ready to work on. But you've got the data there to do it. But you don't want to have all that data at the point and in the engine or the database layer that you're trying to process and query on every day. So I think that becomes probably more of an architectural consideration rather than more data is better, because it's good to have the data, but when you want to work on the data, having something that's manageable is what you need.
So maybe the key takeaway is have some scoping discussions, maybe before or after you have all the data. So it's just not a hodgepodge of data you have to sift through every single time.
So I completely agree with that, and say, but I'd look at it and sort of say, since we've got data lake on the slide there, for me, a data lake is where you put the data you think you might want. The data warehouse is where you put the stuff that you think, well, I probably do and probably should want. And then the data mart is where you put the stuff that you know damn well you really do want and you're going to use it. And if you look at it that way, then make sure you don't put the stuff that you might want into your data marts, because everything starts to slow down. You confuse your users. And I had a nice example about how it's not just the volumes; the complexity can be an issue as well. So I mean, when I was working in retail, you can take a really simple concept or an apparently really simple concept like profit, and say, right, I want to know how profitable this product is that I'm selling. And when I started at Waitrose, we literally did have a measure called profit. And then I dug around the business a bit more and found out, actually, there's another one now. Some people are using gross profit. And then, another area is they've got this thing called landed gross profit. So what do you mean by landed? It's like, well, that was knocking a few more things off. There's some more money somewhere else in the business. Like, well, we better not count that as that comes off the bottom line. So we'll tell that. And then you get profit excluding VAT. And then you get something like a line level profit, which is sort of excluding some more costs associated with those specific products. And then we gave up entirely on using the word profit, and we started having contribution 1, contribution 2. You can see where this is going. I can't remember where it got to. I think it was contribution 5 by the time I left the business. But what was happening here was more and more things that we discovered. There were costs, and you come in, which is fine. There are times when you want to know about it, and the accountants do need to give us as true a representation as possible of how much money the business is actually making at the end of the day. But if you go to a business discussion and you start saying, well, we're making more profit on this one than that one, it's like, well, what do you mean by profit? And you spend the first half of the meeting at least discussing which profit measure you're going to use. So the steer really is just be cautious. Use it where you need it, but it's not always a good idea to introduce extra information and spread it around your business, because it can cause more confusion and do more harm than good. Watch out.
It's funny what you said there, where you said we entirely gave up on using the term profit, and that reminds me of all the AI providers at the moment, where they're getting massive valuations, and you're thinking, but I just want to point out, where's the profit value there? Is it, we're going to make money eventually? Well, you like $1 trillion company, and you don't actually make a profit. So interesting. I would just predict it's going to get shaken out later on. Yeah, exactly.
Series Z funding will be a thing soon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think on the last slide we had the 2 last bullet points, I think, really sum up nicely what Rob was just saying there. The organisations making the best decisions aren't collecting the most data; they're asking the sharpest questions. So they know what they kind of wanted to ask, and they've kind of done that axe sharpening before they start trying to work their way through it. And the good view design and dimensional modelling is worth much more than additional data sources. And getting that's the one great thing with Yellowfin, with the view and having all the business logic and the understanding built into there. Rob's kind of used the word profit there, and used another term for profit and another term. They could be different fields, or it could be that different areas of the business call the same thing slightly different things, and having that domain experience built into the view. So when you are using AI or you're using something else to ask the questions of the data within Yellowfin, it's returning and referencing back to the right thing. And I think one of the other things behind that, in terms of making better decisions, with AI, you want to make sure that the answer given is actually verifiable. And that's one of the things that's really strong around what Yellowfin provides, is that as you use AI to ask a question, you can go straight through that back to the the report, the dashboard, to the report and the data set that's been created. You can see exactly what it's fetched and brought in. It's not a black box. It's there for you to fully dive into and get the full deep answer on it. So when you are making that assumption over what you're seeing, it doesn't need to be an assumption. You can actually get in and see what the data is actually telling you, which is pretty cool.
And never forget, a SQL query is just a formally structured question. You're literally questioning your data, blah, 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 where this has happened, having this kind of value. That is what a SQL query is. And when you use the AI assisted queries and stuff like that, it's just helping you change that formal language into something that's a bit more loose and a bit more natural language. And guided queries in particular are very useful for, I mean, we're not really talking to the people that are, I suppose, creating those questions, but that is part of it, is to try and take this whole subject of querying data and make it a bit more approachable for mortals to actually use, rather than the ones that walk around and go, oh, yes, I understand everything, and just live in a rarefied
I guess this is where I differ from most people. When I ask a question, I'm like, enter left join, and that's just like even me like ordering food. So yeah, it's fun
you are the
sometimes.
guy that built your own Linux distribution, so therefore you are not actually a
That's a
real
great
boy.
blog post, by the way. Everyone should check it out. Unshameful plug.
Yeah, it's good. So self-service means no governance. We gave everyone access. Job done. Yeah, that's the entrepreneur's way of managing a business. I don't believe in file permissions or logins. I want to be able to touch everything. And of course, the entrepreneurs start to grow up later when they have a board of directors that say, so what is our vulnerability here and what's our business risk? And it's a shock. That's when a business matures from being just a regular kind of, we grew from being something that was an idea, getting to the stage where it's a mature business, where they actually have to think about things which they should have done all along, about who's in charge of what, and what your business risks are, and what's going to put you out of business or send you to prison, even in extreme circumstances, or at the very least fines. I noticed a headline the other day that Meta were facing a $1.1 trillion fine, according to Mark Zuckerberg himself, saying that this is an existential fine. So yeah, no governance is even with the right governance, you've got to make sure it's channeled in the right direction. So
all I
and we
saw
wish Mark Zuckerberg
when you were
the best.
saying about giving everybody access, all I could see was Montana's ch mod kind of commands going through his head, and he's going to go, Alex.
Yeah, I'm chowing everyone to 777. Don't worry.
Oh God! Oh God!
Sorry, we've gone geeky for a moment.
Yeah, I'll start talking about sticky bits and how I hacked to log in once with a sticky bit. But that's another story. A script with a sticky bit in Unix, and I got root access.
That's pretty cool.
It annoyed someone as well. They tried to fire me, and I was promoted instead. So there you go. But anyway, that's ancient history. So yeah, Yellowfin's content management, access filters, and org level security let people explore freely without breaking things. So you can. I debate.
Yeah, I think that this is what,
stuff.
well, this is one of the things that I actually kind of quite like about Yellowfin, is that depending on your business and depending on the different types of users that you've got, there's ways to accommodate experience and workflows that fit every single organization. It's possible to kind of give people the chance who are slightly more junior to start building dashboards and building reports and getting them prepped and ready, but then having an approval process for them to go through. So rather than just pushing it out and everybody gets access to it, they stay private. People can then actually go, have a review against them. And then once they're approved by somebody who's senior enough, then they can be pushed into the business. The one thing that is very good with self-service is that what we're seeing with a lot of developers who are trying to use AI to kind of work into analyzing data, that they've not got the row level checks and the securities and the auditing and all the other kind of stuff that we've spoken loads about in the governance sessions in place. So it does become a Wild West, and you can literally ask everything and anything, and then it opens up so many issues. But because everything within Yellowfin processes through the view, you can literally do whatever you want to do with it, and it's actually opening up a lot of doors for the future. We've got plans that we're looking at to help support people using AI querying through to Yellowfin, but because everything goes through the view, the person who's doing the querying is getting to see what they should see on the level of access they should see, and those checks and constraints and the auditability of it was all kept in place. So it's really important that is there to make sure you've got that governance layer, because without it, you are kind of down the creek without a paddle.
Yes.
I remember someone saying once about access control, we don't want no scrubs. That was I thought that was, and I'm like, what? Oh,
That's
yes,
another
I
way
get
of
what you
putting
mean
it.
now. Yeah, ain't no scrubs using our data. Like, okay, very good. I was like the most culture clash you could ever have between a Brit and an American. I was like, I get it. Yeah, yeah. So it is. I mean, we've got all sorts of plans for Yellowfin. It's always being developed. Always the next big thing is on the way, and I've seen some of the plans are coming up, and they're very exciting. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I work with lots of brands. I actually work for Idera. I don't directly work for Yellowfin most of the time. I'm involved in all sorts of meetings with it, but I really like Yellowfin. I think it's a great product. I think the level of detail for things like security, the stories. I love the stories feature. I think that's a really great feature. And if people aren't sure what they are, I think have we got our where's my mouse gone? Hello, mouse. Oh, my mouse has disappeared.
Well, whilst you're searching for
That's fine. We'll come back to my mouse
melted.
another time when it wants to work. But
It's melted.
I was going to put a QR code up, but it's sandbox.yellowfin.com. Go to that and have a play with yourself and see what Yellowfin is if you're not sure. But we'll probably put a little patch across the bottom when we post it up on the channel.
Sandbox.yellowfinbi.com.
Yeah, sandbox.yellowfinbi.com. Yes, yeah. Oh, I found my. Hang on, it's back. Hooray! So that means.
Well, whilst you're putting that up, I think
just in time.
The one line on here that I kind of really like is governance. Think of it as like a kitchen. Self-service means people can cook, not that you remove the smoke detector.
I like it. Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, and I have managed now to get my mouse working. So and the actual link goes to there as well. So if you want to have a play with Yellowfin, go ahead and do it. That's what we're talking about. Like I say, I mean, I'm not an expert in Yellowfin. I don't go on site. I don't do the complicated things that Rob and Montana do. Stephen just is there. He's directing the traffic and being in charge, as you do. Is that right? Or do you write code for Yellowfin? I don't think you do. Do you? Don't?
No, not
yes,
not development.
No,
not
he's,
the core
he's,
product, but I do a lot of the. We've been working obviously with the sandbox and helping enable developers there.
Okay, yeah.
We've done a lot of code recently.
Yeah, like one of the lower people in the world. Yes, yeah, like
we've actually just launched out. Obviously, we did the Delphi libraries about a year ago that wrap up the REST API, and we've also recently pushed out for C# and for Java and for TypeScript as well. So if you sign up on the Sandbox link there, the email you'll get through will actually provide you examples of those libraries and the samples. You'll literally be able to have single sign-on working to a test system of yellowfin, before the end of the session here today. If you are quick scanning that now. So.
Cool, excellent.
Very useful tools.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and so we need to push on a bit. So AI will replace your analysts. Isn't that the big flavor of the month? Flavor of the moment, really, problem that everybody thinks that they're going to be replaced by AI. My experience of AI is that actually what it tends to do is just make you better. You can do more stuff when you use it right. It can make life a lot easier because a lot of the donkey work, the boring work, is taken out of the loop by AI. Is it going to replace your analysts? What do you think, guys?
No. So I have this scenario in like 2035 where it's like a boardroom and they're having a lot of issues with their code base because it's all AI and nobody really knows how to code. So somebody stands up and goes, "Does anyone know how to read code?"
And you know what? That is actually a problem. There is a discussion about the problem with AI is that it's very good at replacing, or at least partially replacing, the lower level tasks, because it's very good at doing some really some repetitive things very fast, or some very clearly defined jobs fast, and actually can do some miracle stuff. Sometimes obviously, I've done a few AI conferences and things like that, and some of the results are magical. And Fable 5, the current hot favorite for Anthropic, does some really mind-bendingly good stuff and some really mind-bendingly bad stuff as well. But the trouble is that people are believing that it can replace junior analysts, it can replace junior developers. Why take on a junior developer? We can get the AI to do that, and then we can see the code ourselves and get more senior people to review that code, or senior analysts to do that. That works for a while, until, as you said, in 2035, you suddenly the senior analyst is retired or gone on to a different place. You don't have someone that can actually read code to the level required, because the AI is very, very good at doing the code, has produced amazing code that you cannot understand unless you are amazing too.
And that is why code reader will be a job in 2035.
Well, I think it's getting there quicker than that, but yeah.
But even if it's data analysis and business analysis, you've got the same problem. Whatever you use AI to replace the junior level, if you've got the problem of who's going to be doing the senior level in 5-10 years time. You need that continuity, unless you're really confident that AI will also be able to do the senior level by the time you want it to.
It can be a very plausible liar as well. That's the other problem. It can come up with information that is completely inaccurate, but very confident that it's got the right answer. Now, I know
it sounds good.
Humans do that too. I mean, for sure, that's how I managed to stay employed. But it is a problem that sometimes the amount of stuff it can do, like as a developer, pull requests by AI are becoming a massive problem, because you don't want to trust a huge pull request with 10,000 lines of changes in it without reviewing that. Well, you can get AI to review that pull request, but what if that AI doesn't spot something that a human would have spotted? Because, and sometimes you want both, but the pull requests are actually becoming a burden on some of the projects I work on, because you're getting people going, oh, I'm going to create a new feature. It creates thousands of lines of code, which you cannot just put into your code base without reviewing thoroughly. And it's the same with analysis.
Yes.
Well, AI is a multiplier. Basically, if you instruct the AI to do something poorly, it will multiply the poorness that goes on. If you ask it to do something the correct way, then it'll do an amazing job. When I was at Nokia, we were doing a lot of work looking at different learning models and actually kind of building AI engines off things. And I was chatting with the data scientist team then, and they spoke to me about one of the use cases that was used in medical. It takes a long time to train people to be able to read MRI scans correctly, and with the AI, it was able to kind of they built a big data set over time, and they're then able to read and triage the images that are coming through and help prioritize the ones that needed to be then looked at by the senior people. And it started doing a really, really good job of that. And in fact, they even managed to start identifying new things on the images that they hadn't picked up on before, and said, we think this is a marker for onset of cancer or something like that. So there's some amazing stuff that AI can do, but you've got to train it, and the time it takes to do that is quite significant. But when it comes to fast-moving data that is changing and the boundaries of everything that's changing, that's a very different type of game, and it does take a lot more thought and process to go around it, especially when the goalposts are changing an awful lot. Looking for a fracture on a bone is quite a simple task that's very, very repetitive. But with businesses where there's a lot more dynamic moving parts, and you're trying to keep awareness of things that are happening outside of the defined scope that it's originally on, that's where you need a broader thought pattern around it, and that's really important. But I think one of the big risks that we run with AI is people using it to summarize up what's going on, and then not spending the time to review it. I think that's going to be one of the biggest risk factors for organizations down there. Because, as you say, if it's confident about what it's putting out, but it's wrong, it's going to be very confidently wrong, and it's give you something that looks very confident. But you need that critical eye to go against what's coming through there to make sure the business decisions are what's right. And as Rob gave the example of earlier, I think, what's profit? Start with one that evolves because you're learning and understanding the requirements around the business to analyze that in a deeper way. And if you've not got a critical view on it, that becomes very, very hard to manage and to kind of pick up on.
Yeah. I mean, and also for those out there that are skeptical of AI, I'm the oldest person, I think, as one of the guests or hosts here, and I've been a developer for over 40 years. I'm not joking, a software developer, and I've worked.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? It's longer than many people I am on with have been alive, and it happens what. But I was there for the invention of the PC. I'm not joking. I remember the IBM PC being introduced. I was already working in IT when it was introduced, and if I'm comfortable with AI, and I've done a lot of AI coding camps, and in fact we're just literally having a 3-month event now for Rad Studio for code, creative with AI. If I can be confident about it, I absorb the correct facts about AI, where it breaks down, where it's strong, where it's weak, because it is just effectively a very complicated, very efficient algorithm. People treat it as if it's a human brain in a box. It's not. It is like having a very complicated formula in Excel, except it's got trillions of different interconnections that make it look intelligent, but it is not intelligent. But once you get to grips with what it can do for you, the NLQ and assisted insights being a good example of a good use of AI, it helps you get to the right answers inside Yellowfin. Also, Yellowfin, like all Idea products, uses bring your own key. So we're not saying to you, no, sorry, you've got to buy Idea or Yellowfin's AI. No. You pick the one that you're comfortable with at the price that you are happy with, because there's always a subscription price, because these guys are spending billions on data centers, and they've got to make their money back, as I said earlier on about the removal of the word profit from sheets and things like that. But I think that I personally, and disclaimer, I work for Idea, but I genuinely mean this when I think the idea of bring your own key is a good idea. I'm an expert in local large language models, how to use them locally on your machine. If you're not comfortable with how things are processed, then Yellowfin actually supports the concept of having a local model, or having what others does it support? I think it's Claude, is that right? The integration.
Yep, OpenAI, Gemini.
Yeah, so basically all the flavors that are available at the moment. Pick your poison or your weapon, whichever way you want to look at it, and you can do it. And does it make business sense? Well, does being able to do less work and get better answers make business sense? You tell me. I mean, it can give you the wrong answer incredibly quickly, but it can give you the right answer more times than not incredibly quickly. But also the way it's used inside Yellowfin, I think is perfect, because what it allows me to do is focus on the question I'm asking rather than how I'm asking it. The thing about queries and things like that, and the most important factor is how you ask that question to get what you want. But with guided NLQ and the assisted insights, it's taking a lot of that, having to understand the fundamentals of what's the mechanism of asking that question away from you, and freeing you up to actually ask the question in a way that is a more natural way for you, and then it's interpreting that and then doing all the querying and all the other things behind it, but also making some suggestions as well. It's like having a little assistant that comes along and goes, I see you've done a thing here that's analyzing how many widgets you've made, but you can actually do this to find out another figure that also affects your bottom line as well. Have you considered that? That's what the assisted insights does. So
It's a smarter Clippy.
smarter Clippy. Hi there. Or Pipey, if you watched the
Right.
Valley. That kind of thing. I'm sorry, only 10% of the people that will watch this video will know what on earth we're talking about, Pipey, but yeah, it is that. And that's the thing. I mean, if it had been, I think if the AI had been given a face like HAL 9000 or something like that, or even Sora, I think was another one that was like that, I think it wouldn't have succeeded as well as it has done, because people would be more concerned about it. But because it's this disembodied chat window, I think, and for the generalized AI that's out there like Claude and Cursor and all the rest of it, it's great. And I personally, I think, will it replace analysts? Yeah, some people are going to be out of work, unfortunately. That's just the way that modernization goes. If you can do things more efficiently with fewer people, then businesses looking to cut their bottom line are going to get rid of some people, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's not us doing it. That's the industry is a problem for everything, just the same as any other automation process, like farming. I grew up in a farming village in Bedfordshire, and everybody I went to school with, apart from me, their parents worked as farmers. Now, if you go to that same village, it's a town, and everybody that lives there commutes to London. It's because the farming is now industrialized, and they have one guy who's got a computer controlled tractor that go combine harvester or whatever, and can do the work of all those guys that I used to work with. So they're all out of work. And did it affect them? Yeah, of course it did. It affected them in a real sense, a financial sense. But also, at least two of the kids I went to school with were injured working on the farms. That's why we had the school holidays, so the kids go and work on the farm. I know this sounds like I lived in the 1800s, but I really didn't. It was the 1970s. But one kid, I mean, they were planting potatoes and his foot was chopped off by a machine. So the benefit there is that the manual labor is, removed. So
but I think what it kind of highlights is the shift around where the time is spent on people. Progress. And I think that's one of the things with AI is that we're looking at having more time to spend looking at making sure the data is clean and right and clear. So when we're putting it in, we're getting the right answers out. And it's helping people shift from being just building reports and taking the time to analyze it and work it out. Montana was saying earlier, it's like, oh, is it a left join or out of join? Oh, I can't remember. Well, the AI will get that right because we've got that connected up with the view. And that then gives more time to actually look at the data that's coming through it and analyze it rather than constantly be chasing to kind of get the stuff sorted and through. So I think it helps people evolve and to shift where you need to spend the time or where you can spend the time, sometimes away from those more menial tasks into the things that actually help drive value in the business. So yeah, it is certainly there to help improve and get the answers quicker and hopefully in a better way.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, that's the point I was making, is that, you know, throughout history there's always been modernization come along, but this is AI is like anything, you know, using some kind of power tool instead of using a hand tool. You know, you can go and hand drill a hole, or you can get a power drill and do it in a couple of seconds and not have to, you know, get calluses on your hands and things like that as well. And this is metaphorically, it's removing the calluses from your brain, having to think about things. So, which I like, because I try not to think about anything, as is evidenced by my hosting skills. So
you got me thinking about, Ian, the power tool never fits in the gap that I need it to fit into to do the job, so I always end up doing by hand.
You need a different power tool. There you go. Problem solved. That's exactly why I end up with lots of tools. Yeah, one of the benefits of living in an apartment is it's somebody else's problem to screw things together when they don't work. So, yeah, apart from desks and stuff, but yeah, it is what it is. Spock is useless. He just stands there all day and does that. He just doesn't ever help out. Terrible, terrible house guest. So there you go. Excellent. Okay. Well, I need to finish relatively on the hour. I think we've been through all our slides. We actually managed to get through number 6 is QA and wrap up, which I guess that's what this is. But very interesting. I think, like I say, we're going to take a break for a couple of weeks. They are putting all of the series that we've been on up on a page on the Yellowfin page. All the replays will be there, and also they're going to push it out to some different channels, and I think out to some partners as well. So we will get all sorts of views coming up, and our true beauty will be spread far and wide to everybody. There you go. So yes, or something like that. If you are thinking about trying Yellowfin, it's on the screen, sandbox.yellowfinbi.com, or scan the QR code. It will always work. It goes to that link, and we will be back another time. So goodbye to Rob. Bye-bye, Rob.
Okay, Ian. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Yes, with your delayed.
Yes.
Rob is on the International Space Station, which is why there's a little bit of a pause. So,
Right.
And thanks to Montana as well. And hope you stay nice and warm, but not too warm in California. I'm very jealous.
Melting.
Yeah. And Stephen, thanks to you as well, as always.
Thanks, Ian, for hosting the series through, and being our host. And we'll look forward to being back online with you later in the year. I'll say if there's any topics that anybody wants covered or they think would be fun, please just drop us a note over. And it's always great to hear what you guys are doing, and just contact through the sales team and just ask to get in touch with us, and be more than happy to discuss whatever you're kind of playing around with and having fun. And if there's any advice that you need around doing your integration works and how you can embed BI into your workflows, then we're here. So just please feel free to reach out and get one of us onto a call with you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys. We will see you another time. And thank you to Maria as well, and to Dirk, who came on, but particularly Maria, because she is on our little sheet of regular guests. But unfortunately, we didn't always get her on. She was always too busy actually earning money for the company, which is always a good plus. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you again the next time. Bye-bye.